Hi, this is Joe again with another review. And for the sake of this video, this is actually going to be my 601st video. I just did my 600th video. This video is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to be doing a movie or a television show review. This one, I'm going to be discussing 2017 marks the 30th anniversary of the very first sports talk radio station, which is WFAN here in New York, and that's what we're going to be discussing. The 30th anniversary of WFAN. Now, I don't know if it's going to be, like later on in the summer, it's going to be a big thing, because that's when the actual anniversary is. Because WFAN came on the air on exactly 3 p.m. on January 1st, 1987. And remember this, because actually, of course, I was just home from school. I was just off for summer vacation. It's like really my first full week of summer vacation. And I actually taped when WFAN came into being. WFAN was on a different radio station here in New York than what it is now. When WFAN first started on, like I said earlier, July 1, 1987, it was on 10:50 a.m. on the AM dial here in New York. 10:50 was reserved for the country music station called WHN, which was a pretty popular radio station at the time. But country music here in New York was sort of, well, not really dying out, but the fad was dying off here. And in 1987, the Mets had just, and WHN was the station you could hear the Met games on the radio at that time. And they had just won the World Series the year before, 1986. So in 1987, they decided to capitalize on that. So now the Mets finally won a World Series in 17 years, the first World Series in 17 years. So what they did was they made a new pregame show for the Met games called Mets Extra, which was started like 90 minutes before the Met game started. I think the Mets started their games at 7:30 at that time. So at 6 o'clock, a new show hosted by Howie Rose, who is now, today, the radio voice of the Mets, hosted a 90-minute show where he interviewed the manager, and you have calls. People who actually could call in and ask the manager, who was Davey Johnson at the time, questions about the Mets, his managerial strategy and stuff like that. And it slowly became a big hit with fans. And of course, an hour after the game, they have another post-game show. It's going to be a post-game show where he would show highlights or play highlights, not exactly show highlights because of the radio, but also talk about the story of the game, kind of like a radio version of Kindness Corner in a way, which was the television post-game show on Channel 9 on televised Met games. And also will have out-of-town scores, which is very rare on the radio to hear all this stuff. But the call-ins became such a huge popular thing. They just say, hey, you got an idea, when do we make a 24-hour sports talk radio station? Of course, at that time, in the 70s and the early 80s, there were some sports talk shows, but you didn't have an old 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year sports talk station. And unfortunately, WHN rings were slowly dying out, and so they decided to make WHN the first sports talk radio station. So the WHN call letters were retired and were changed with WFAN. And like I said, at 3 p.m. on July 1st, 1987. And the first voice you heard was ironically Susan Waldman, who is now one of the radio voices of the Yankees, today. And the first radio show host was Jim Lampley from, HBO Sports. He was the first real sports talk show host, and his show lasted about like 3 hours. I think it was like 3 hours. Actually, it was 3.5 hours, and then the Mets Extra show came on because they reduced the Mets Extra show from an hour and a half to just a half hour. And Jim Napoli was actually the first radio show host to actually leave. And I still remember what the original lineup was. The original lineup had Great Gumbo on in the mornings, and then you had like not Pete Franklin, you had like Bill Mazer in the morning, and then you had Jim Lampley, and then Jim Lampley was eventually switched to the mornings because of his on schedule doing other things, and then in the afternoon you had I forgot you had what you had originally in the afternoon, but from 7 to midnight you had Harry Rose, and then from midnight to 6 a.m. you had Steve Summers, and Steve Summers was the only original WFAN host or show host who's still on the fan today. Because Mike Francesa is on the afternoon now, and he was not an original show host until maybe a year later. To about he would like fill in. Maybe he would like fill in for somebody, but it wasn't like a permanent host. So maybe like a year later. And of course, well now Mike Francesa is like the big shot on WFAN today. But over the years, he had some controversial talk show hosts. And the most controversial one was, of course, Don Imus. And I previously did a review on what happened with him, so I'm not going to get into that. The reason why Don Imus became a part of WFAN was that, I think it was like 1988 or 89, WFAN switched from 1050 to 660 on the radio dial because 660 had a much larger signal and a better signal, and it was sent out to a much larger area than 1050 was. So WFAN took over what was then WNBC radio, and Don Imus was on WNBC. So CBS, which controlled CBS radio, which controlled WFAN, bought out Don Imus's contract, and that's how Imus became part of WFAN. One of the more controversial ones, other than Imus, was Pete Franklin, who was on in the afternoons for I think 3 to 7. And Pete Franklin used to curse, who since passed away, used to curse at callers who ask a stupid question, make a stupid comment. He used to curse them all out, and then he eventually got fired for it. And then not too long after that, he since passed away. And of course, over the years, he had some colorful callers who will call up. One like Bruce from Bayside, who unfortunately since passed away. Doris from Eagle Park, who used to call on the weekends or overnight. And she was one who used to call for it. She'd go cough like that. And she developed like lung cancer. I always wondered why she was constantly coughing like that. And found out that she had lung cancer, and that's what she died of. Eventually, she passed away from that. But Doris from Eagle Park was really a controversial caller, but she was one that used to constantly call WFAN all the time. I didn't really hear all that much during the week, but mostly on the weekends or on Steve Summers. She used to call Steve Summers a lot. But then, of course, the most controversial call was a guy named Eli from Westchester, who I heard died of a heart attack, I think it was. He used to call up all the time and bring up the racial angles and everything. And I thought that for a long time he was banned from WFAN because he keep bringing up this play up a racial angle in the sports world. Like, the NFL is racist because they don't have any black coaches, or the NBA is racist because they don't have any black coaches in the NBA, and most of the players are black in those two sports in particular. And he used to play with that, and it was so annoying. They actually gave him, like on Christmas, when most of the regular radio show hosts took the day off for Christmas, they gave him a show, and for like 2 hours, with like 2 or 3 hours, and most of the calls he got were from people from Westchester who he knew. Big surprise. Of course, when WFAN was one of his original spots, 1050, the only sport they had were the Mets. They didn't broadcast any other sporting event. So when the Mets were off, or whenever, they used to have Harry Rose on at night. And for Christmas in 1987, when WFAN was still in its early days, they didn't have anything to broadcast on Christmas. There was no real sports news on Christmas because because the NBA was off, the NHL was off. They had maybe a couple college football games, like one or two college football games. And remember those days we didn't have over 40 ball games, so they had nothing to do. So Howie Rose decided to get the idea of broadcast Game 6 of the 1986 World Series on Christmas Eve. It was a huge deal, and I actually taped it. I had a boombox which has a tape deck in it, which you record stuff off the radio off of, and I taped that. And the next night they played from the 6th inning on of Game 7, plus the first ever Met game ever in 1962, the first regular season game. The quality of the 1962 game wasn't that great because actually today with 1962 technology, and plus the game was over 25 years old. So and they had that on Christmas Day itself, which was fun. But then of course when they moved to NBC, they had carried the Knicks, they carried I think the Jet games, and also the Ranger games for a few years. And then eventually they got on the broadcast the Devils, the Islander games sometimes now, and of course the Nets. The Nets games, and of course they covered the Giants as well now. And of course now, after over 20 years, a couple of years ago, in 2012 I think it was, they got rid of the Mets. 2013 I think was the last year they had carried the Mets. And amazing, now they have the Yankees. Because George Steinbrenner always wanted the Yankees to be on, when he was alive, wanted the Yankees on WFAN, because WFAN carried the Met game. So he had an inferiority complex with the Mets. So he kept pressing to get his team on the WFAN, which it didn't work until when the WFAN's contract with the Mets was up, and the WFAN dumped the Mets. If it was not for the New York Mets and the Mets extra show, plus Howie Rose's hosting of that show, you wouldn't have WFAN today. And they dumped the Mets like a bad habit, and they're broadcasting the Yankee games for the last 3 or 4 years now, and it's really horrible. But WFAN did to the Mets because of that. And of course, like I said, they had Howie Rose on, and of all the visual radio hosts, Howie Rose I missed the most. It was really damn good. And the best shows he did. Now I already mentioned that he replayed Game 6 of the 86 World Series on Christmas Eve 1987. But on January 7th, 1992 was when George Thomas Seaver became the first Met rolling into the Hall of Fame, at least the first Met recognized in the Hall of Fame. And so Howie Rose had an interview with Jack Lang and talking about how 5 sports writers didn't vote for Tom Seaver, and talking about how some players got screwed, or some sports writers forgot or didn't vote for certain guys because it was the first year on the ballot. And even at that time, 1982, it was a stink over that stuff, and it's still the same stink today. The sports writers don't vote for guys in the first ballot, or they had a grudge against them and don't vote for them, and that type of nonsense. And then, of course, 2 days later, Howie Rose had a full show from 7 to midnight. It's a tribute to Tom Seaver. He actually had Tom Seaver on for a full hour without commercials, which was really terrific. It was a terrific interview, and I have those on audio cassette, which was always for me. It's fun to listen to that stuff. He also had Tom McGraw on. He had the catcher Jerry Grody, and also had the first manager Wes Westrom. Tom Seaver's first major league manager Wes Westrom on, and it was fun to listen to so a lot of those old stories. And of course, 2 years later, Tom Seaver or Howie Rose, I should say, broke open all the counterfeit memorabilia that's out there. There was a guy who was selling a Tom Seaver 1969 autographed jersey, and Tom Seaver saw the jersey on TV, and said it was fake because they had a patch on all the MLB jerseys for all the teams at that time. On the I think it was 2014 then, or back then, and they had a patch celebrating the 100th anniversary of Major League Baseball. And the sleeve was that these guys were selling. This Tom Seaver jersey that these guys were selling. The patch was on the wrong sleeve. They said, no, it was moved over for the World Series. The World Series patch would be over here. They said, no, they didn't have World Series patches in those days. So Harry Rose called them out on that it was fake, and they had a big fight argument on the radio. And Harry Rose blew the door open on this fake memorabilia and car shows. And at that time, car shows, memorabilia shows sort of really rolled down to nothing because of a lot of the fake stuff that's out there. But now you have like Mike Francesa with a stupid Super Bowl trivia contest, and I think WFAN more and more is becoming more of a football related station now than covering all sports. And the thing they missed was like at the top of every hour they would play like a classic, or like a classic clip from the sports world past, which of course they don't do it anymore. And there used to be a guy named Stan Moran who used to be very, very good. And I don't ever have him. I don't know if he passed away. I think he might have passed away. He used to produce like a year-end review of every year. And those shows were always the best ones. It was too long. It used to go like about 3 or 4 hours sometimes. But those shows were always good to know because you go by every single month. And at the start of every month, there's just being a WFAN host who would read the big news stories of that particular month, what happened that particular month, and then, outside the sports world, and then they talk about what happened during that particular month in the sports world. Unfortunately, they don't do that anymore. But what they do now is that every Super Day is all football, 24/7, and very rarely they talk about baseball anymore, or any other sport really. Except for, and I know in the early 90s, they used to have like a wrestling show on in the middle of the night between Saturday night and Sunday morning. They used to have like a wrestling show for like an hour, talking about wrestling. That's not on the WFAN anymore either. For like over 25 years, or almost 25 years now. And I wish they would bring back, because actually professional wrestling is, all the results are more made by the fans anyway. So that's why it's not really covered. Wrestling on WFAN. I don't know about any other sports station, I don't know. But WFAN became a big hit almost overnight. Which is like a surprise to a lot of people because they think, this thing won't, 24-hour sports station won't work. Meanwhile, unfortunately, it did work, and now that's about every market in the United States. At least all the major cities in the United States has a sports talk station. And also you have WFAN, not only WFAN, but you also have ESPN has their own network of stations across the country. You have, I think, Fox Sports. I think Fox Sports also has a sports radio network as well. I'm not 100% sure on Fox Sports, but I know ESPN does. But unfortunately, they don't get the ratings that WFAN does, obviously. I think you pretty much ran out of material for this one. So that's my review of the 30th anniversary of WFAN. Please click on the video, please rate it, feel free to comment on it. Please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can watch all my videos and on my YouTube channel at rallyc.com. That's RWDY, the letter C.com. That's the homepage of the Rally Reviewer, Chris Moore. Please check out all of his material on his website as well. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.